Hey, this is Simon. We have a lot of fun with our spoiler section and we want more of you to have access. So we've added the spoiler perk to the Landed Knight tier. Follow the link to buy me a coffee in the show notes and sign up to hear the future. Thanks. Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 316 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of The Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 44 of A Dance with Dragons, which is Jon 9.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. Unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers, well, then we are going to spoil things for you. But regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. How about you? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm thrown off because we're recording on a different day to accommodate Thanksgiving, so it's a little strange.
It's very rare that we record on a Monday evening.
Yes, but we're going to manage it. Yeah, I'm doing all right. My shoulder's really good.
Yes,
I got cleared to drive, and I'm able to type again and use a mouse.
Yeah, so your shoulder, the padding is all gone and stuff. You look pretty normal.
That's also. If you want, you can have a view of the shoulder, but it's pretty gruesome under there. There's two holes front and back where the orthoscopic thing went in, and then there's just a big old scar down the side of my shoulder. It's like, ooh.
I thought the scar was only supposed to be like a.
That's what I thought. I think he meant the front and back scar. They'll just be like a centimeter. The other one,
the one that connects the two of them,
Frankenstein's monster,
half a foot long.
But so all's going well with that. Last week we talked so much about this that we didn't really talk about the qualifiers for the Football World Cup, the Soccer World Cup.
Okay.
You probably didn't pay any attention, but it was kind of the final round of qualifying for the European teams to get into the World Cup, and there was some genuinely dramatic stuff happened. Both Ireland and Scotland scored injury time goals to get themselves into a playoff to get to the World Cup, and in Scotland's case to get all the way to the World Cup.
Oh wow. All right.
And for Scotland it's the first time in 28 years. It's the first time they'll have been going to the World Cup.
Really?
And, yeah.
That is surprising. I did not know this.
Yeah. They're kind of chronic underachievers, Scotland.
Oh.
They always fail. But at the same time they also, in that 28 years, they've had some real dearths of talent as well. So it's kind of contributed to it. So, but both games were genuinely exciting and dramatic. So,
all right.
Is
that what was being talked about on the Discord, the general channel?
I think so. We were, they were talking about when I watched the Scotland game live, and I cried. I had tears rolling down my face when Scotland qualified. It was something else. It really was.
All right. Yeah.
It was an amazing thing.
And
I mentioned that just to annoy my Scottish listeners, because Scotland really hate England and England really like Scotland, and I can only imagine it antagonises them all the more that we like them so much.
Probably what I was about to ask would make it even worse. I was about to ask if you as an Englishman look at Scotland as like your little brother that you kind of root for, but aren't threatened by.
Answering that in a positive way might well bring down some pelters upon me, so I'm a little bit hesitant to do so. But yeah, there's a little bit of that, But as a child, Scotland were very much, on par with England. In fact, my earliest memories of the World Cup, it was Scotland going to the World Cup and England staying home.
Okay, so they've had their moments.
Oh yeah. In 78 was the first World Cup I remember. And it was in Argentina. So for England, the playing times were in the middle of the night. So I think I've mentioned this on the pod before, I would go to bed and my dad would get me up at kickoff time at like 2 a.m. and we'd watch the games together.
Yes.
And that Scotland team was actually just an outside bet to win the World Cup. And they chronically underachieved again at that World Cup. They had a real chance. And they played. What's interesting actually, that in the final game of that group stage, they played Holland and they scored a goal which has long been considered the best goal in the history of Scottish football by a game. Wow. A guy with a fantastically Scottish name. His name was Archie Gemmell. And he scored this wonderful goal against the Netherlands, who went on to the final. So they were a really good team, and Scotland beat them, and they went on to come second in the tournament. So Scotland were in that echelon, but Scotland they lost to someone they should never have lost to and got sent home. But the thing is, so that's 78. So what's that? That's 38. No, let's see. How 40, long ago is that? 47 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that goal went in. Ever since then, the best goal in Scottish football history. The other night, when they beat Denmark 4-2, they scored 3 goals, all of which were better and also more consequential than that goal.
That's a flurry of activity.
That game was really crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happened to me, actually, I've got another thing. Today, I took a day off work and played board games all day.
Really? I did not know this. I guess I didn't. I got a text from you. I didn't get a work instant message from you earlier.
Yeah,
so
that was the clue right
there.
That
explains it. Now that I think about it, yeah.
We played online games all morning and then face-to-face games in the afternoon. And I just
What prompted this? Just spur of the moment? Just decided to do it?
My friend Tim suggested it, and then when we halfway through the day, he mentioned it was his birthday, and that's why he suggested it.
Oh,
a great idea for a birthday! This is.
Should have led with that. You would at least given him a happy birthday before then.
The tricky thing is I've got my annual physical coming up, and my blood work is tomorrow morning. So they were all hitting the junk food while we played.
Yeah.
And I had a tray of crudité and some fruit. And one of the guys playing, I'd never met him before, and I said, just to be clear, I've got this thing, that's why I'm doing this. Normally I'm one of the guys,
Have you been cramming? Have you been preparing for this, your blood work better this year than last?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty good. I've because of the surgery, I've been off the booze pretty much completely for
true. Yeah,
almost 3.5 weeks now.
So your blood pressure's probably up a bit then.
Possibly. My God, everything annoys me more. I tell you that.
Right. This show's going to go wonderfully, I can tell.
and my weight is actually my lowest of the year. This diet I'm on, I actually had a new low. Yeah. So
okay.
Hopefully the blood work's going to be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and
it is
tomorrow. Both of my children return home to me. Well, Stacy and me. So that is very exciting. It's partly why we are recording tonight instead of at least tomorrow.
I see where I am in the pecking order.
This was a bit of a cram to get an episode prepared this quickly of a turnaround. But yes, I'm very excited. It's last time that Ethan was in when he came in on that spur of the moment trip. We didn't get to visit Molly at her college, so this will be the first time they've seen each other since the first or second day of August or so. So I'm very excited for that. They'll say hi to each other and then go off on their own separate wings of the house.
You don't pin too much hopes on that tearful reunion. I know what siblings are like.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Hi, Molly. Hi, Ethan. How are you? Good. How are you? Good." And then to their own separate wings.
Tim, who the birthday boy, has 2 children as well, and he got a call from his daughter while we were playing games this morning, and the first thing she said was, "Have I beaten my brother?" And happy birthday.
Oh yes, just tell me I was first. Tell me first for what?
Oh, well, anyway, let's get down to business. How do we leave Jon Snow? So in the last Jon chapter, he was packing off Val to find Tormund Giantsbane and offer him sanctuary south of the wall. Then he was dealing with the coven of second guessers, questioning his every decision.
Every decision.
Kelly, why don't we give a summary of this one?
All right. Well, Jon welcomes Queen Selyse to Castle Black. As feared, she assumes he's a welcoming committee and not the Lord Commander. She had heard he was young, but had no idea how young. He's gracious, but Cotter Pike's opinion of Selyse and her court seemed to be pretty accurate to Jon. She's harsh and critical. The warmest thing about her are the flames in her crown. In her group is Tycho Nestoris, an emissary of the Iron Bank of Braavos. Jon had again been forewarned of the visitor and has thought of little else since.
Selyse says that they won't stay long. It is her wish to move on to the Night Fort, but Jon cautions that it is barely fit for her yet. She insists and asks to be shown to Melisandre. Jon leads her. Wun approaches to the dismay of the new arrivals. Wun kneels before the Queen and Princess. Selyse's daughter and Stannis' heir, Shireen, is in awe. When the fool Patchface does a little dance, his bells jingling, Wun reaches for him. The fool evades but falls in a snowdrift. Wun laughs. The sound is terrifying, and one of the Queen's guards draws his sword. Jon has Wun taken quickly out of sight, but admonishes the man to honour the guest rights that the giant has been afforded. They're sacred in the north, even if that is not true in the south.
Jon takes his leave and asks Tycho to accompany him. The Bravasi eschews the wall in favour of a fire and mulled wine. When Jon has him alone, they get down to business. Jon needs the 3 ships Tycho arrived on, just temporarily, and alone to see the Night's Watch through the winter. Nestoris is a banker and ready to make a deal. After hours of haggling and a fair bit of wine, they reach a compromise that pleases neither. Jon assumes that is the sweet spot.
Jon mentally adds the 3 ships to the 8 he has at Eastwatch by the Sea. 11 now, to bring the free folk down from Hardhome. Almost certainly not enough, but if he waits for more ships, there may be nobody left to save. His rescue plan relies on the desperation of the people in Hardhome, so he really isn't sure it will work. He asks Tycho after Sam, Aemon and Gilly, but the banker never saw them. Tycho has other intel. Strange ships seen amongst the stepstones with talk of dragons. Jon jokes that he could use a dragon's fire for warmth, but Nestoris is Bravosi, and they take the threat of dragons seriously.
Tycho plans to follow Stannis' route toward Winterfell, where he will try to do business. Robert ran up debts, and the Lannisters aren't paying. The bank won't stand for this, and will support alternatives who would honor existing debts. Jon thinks that if Stannis still lives, he may have just won the Iron Throne. Tycho and Jon head to the common hall for food. They're joined by Queen's Hand, Axel Florent, who annoys Jon by asking after Val. Maybe he knows she's absent, maybe he's a lech, maybe both. Regardless, Jon is done with him and excuses himself.
Jon frets over the deal he struck, but better in debt than dead. He's later roused from sleep with news that a girl has arrived on a dying horse. He rushes out, believing it might be Arya, and frets further about how to keep her safe from Stannis and Melisandre, using her to their benefit. But it is not Arya. He does recognise her, though, as Alys Karstark. She wants protection from her uncle Cregan Karstark. He and his father, Arnolf, intend to force her to marry Cregan. She asks Jon about her father's death. Jon tells her the truth that Robb did it, but explains that it was for murdering 2 Lannister boys in cold blood. She's not surprised. Her father was always a brooding man, and her uncles are similar.
Alys is concerned how this affects her relationship with Jon, but Jon reassures her that he's a brother of the Night's Watch, so there is no bad blood between them. With her 2 elder brothers killed in the Whispering Wood, her eldest brother Harrion is the rightful lord of Carhold, and she his heir. But Harry's a captive of the Lannisters. She says Arnolf only declared for Stannis in the hopes that it would provoke the Lannisters to kill Harry. Were that to happen, her marriage to Cregan would seal the deal, and she wouldn't expect to live much beyond bearing him a son.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
Jon suggests that he writes to Stannis about the matter on her behalf. Then Alys drops her bombshell. The Karstarks are playing Stannis. They've long been in league with Roose Bolton and are only waiting for the word to betray Stannis. Alys seeks protection from Jon. She's his only hope.
Sounds
Good
like
old Star Warsy.
I was just about to say, sounds like Princess Leia. Yeah. Do you see Melisandre showing off at the? Well, not literally at the beginning of this episode, but we were told at the beginning of this episode that she foretold of this party's arrival before the Raven arrived, bringing the news from Eastwatch that this party was headed their way.
So the Red Raven arrived just before the Black Raven, is what you're telling me.
Yes, that's
straight to her.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, again, she's a bit haphazard. She's always right, but her interpretation is not always right.
Correct. Yes.
But she saw Alys arriving, but she thought it was Arya, and it certainly wasn't.
Yeah, she did call the 3 eyeless heads of the Rangers. She was pretty spot on with that. Yeah. But she seems to have a major focus on proving to Jon her abilities and worth. And I was wondering in this chapter, does she continue to see Jon in the flames when looking for Azor Ahai like she did in the Melisandre chapter? Is that starting to make her wonder?
Do you think she might be second-guessing her loyalty to Stannis? That maybe it was never Stannis, she was wrong, and it was Jon? And
yeah, well, if she continues to ask R'hllor to show her Azor Ahai, and she keeps seeing Jon Snow, she might at some point start to think, why is this happening? Is my antenna broken, or is R'hllor trying to tell me something?
I was thinking the same thing. It's a dodgy 70s television. Show me Azor Ahai. All I see is snow.
And also, has she seen Stannis' predicament? The fact that he's snowed in this village and all the issues he's having, and if so, is she going to offer any assistance? Maybe she wants to ride out to save her king.
The other thing I've thought about is how, on some levels, Melisandre has the good of the world in her heart. Yes. She is very concerned about the existential threat that the others pose to the world south of the wall. Yeah, there's no question about that. Is that her primary driver, though? Or is her primary driver the finding someone to fulfill the Azor Ahai prophecy? Or is she just thinking that in order to succeed in protecting the world, I need to find Azor Ahai?
Yeah. I would say her primary focus is defeating the Great Other. Right. And to do that, she probably feels she needs to find Azor Ahai.
Right. So you could argue then that maybe her showing off to Jon, which she clearly is doing, is partly because she's thinking to herself, I can be helpful here at the wall. This is going to be the forefront of this battle, and I can lend a hand here. I need the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch to want me here.
Right. I think that is very much the fact of what's happening here. Yeah.
But you think about that paints her in a different light than you might perceive her as, because she's a mixed character. She's done some heinous things in this book.
Yes.
But that clarity of vision, there's very few. I mean, like Jon is one of the very few people who thinks the job here is to protect every living person from the others.
Yeah.
And now one other person seems to think it, and that's Melisandre. And if that's the case, her abandoning Stannis is both reasonable and also, maybe necessary, because he'd probably drag her down with him, Stannis.
Yeah. No, that all makes a lot of sense. Yeah, if she is starting to get the idea that maybe I was wrong, maybe Stannis was meant to lead me to Jon, who is Azor Ahai.
Yeah.
And if she believes the Great Other exists north of the wall and in the form of the others, then she would be aligned with Jon, that every human that is left north of the wall is just going to ultimately end up in the ranks of the others' army.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't see Melisandre in this chapter. I mean, it's Jon's POV chapter. Melisandre didn't hove into view. it's a particularly twisted part of the book to me that Selyse is so loyal to Melisandre when basically she's being whatever the female equivalent of cuckolded is by the priestess. And did you notice in the notes I actually looked up, is there a word for a female version of cuckold? And apparently there is. It's queen.
Oh, I see that there in the notes. Yes. I did not either. No. But yeah, it is. I guess it just goes to show the level of believer and follower that she is in R'hllor, that Selyse is willing to... We've never had proof that Stannis and Melisandre are intimate together. There's a lot of suggestion and innuendo. But if so, Selyse is willing to allow this in the name of her lord, her red god, R'hllor, and Melisandre, his priestess.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's still plausible deniability. For those of us watching the show, by this time we'd seen Melisandre several times in flagranti.
Right.
So there was little doubt. But yes, there's plausible deniability, I guess. But it's turning a blind eye is one thing. Following that blind eye towards the person who you are having to turn a blind eye from is kind of trickier, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe she was told this is the way it has to be in order for us to complete the mission that we need to complete, possibly.
I can imagine tolerating someone who's hitting on my wife, but blindly following that person, that would be a lot more difficult.
That would be difficult, yes. You'd have to see the bigger picture, right? You'd have to
Very
see
much so.
This is the way my God wants it, so it must be.
Yeah. So we get to see, this is Selyse's first time basically that we've seen her. Did we see her at the bonfires on the beach?
Yeah, I think she was probably there. I don't recall off the top of my head, but she might have been around in a Dragonstone chapter or so.
I learned actually when I was researching this, just jumping forward to TV, that she actually was in the bonfire on the beach scene in Dragonstone in the TV show, but she never had a line and she was never mentioned, and so they actually changed actress between then.
Oh,
she was there and it was supposed to be her, but it was never mentioned. Oh, that's Selyse over there. So they were able to change actress without anyone noticing.
Yeah, I guess so. That turned out that was just some random woman.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know what she's doing here. Yeah.
We never said that was Queen Selyse.
But so we get to meet Selyse, and Jon expected her to be what she was based on what Cotter Pike had told her. And Cotter Pike is obviously a good reader of humans, but you might have guessed it just from the fact that she was married to Stannis. I mean, you'd have to be a certain type of person to tolerate that. I mean, not really. You could be. I mean, I'll give you a counterexample. Who would be married to Roose Bolton? Bubbly and vivacious Walder Frey, apparently.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, opposites sometimes make the best pairs.
But yes, years of being married might drag her down to the level of Selyse and Stannis, I feel.
I believe Joanna Lannister was a lot more sweet and fun and bubbly than her husband, Tywin. So
that's a low bar she's clearing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I also think, though, that Jon's a bit prickly towards the men who drew their steel. I mean, they are her bodyguards, and the giant in front of them was roaring, we know, with laughter, but you know.
Right.
I have a feeling some of it was because Jon is fond of the giant and didn't want anything bad to happen to him, you know.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I thought that the interaction with 1-1 was pretty fun, shall I say?
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. But you do get the feeling that it's a possible powder keg here with these Southern Knights and 1-1, because they, at least initially, only see him as this monster of legend that they cannot believe Jon has allowed through the wall. I thought the wall was supposed to prevent creatures such as this from making it south of the wall, but hopefully either they don't stay long enough for trouble or they warm to him over time.
Right.
Yeah, either way will work. But did you notice Leather returns 1-1 to Hardin's tower, which is where the women are staying. So that seems like a pretty good bouncer to keep unwanted men from entering Hardin's tower.
I should think so. Yes.
But speaking of this interaction, Patchface, he's just so creepy to me. It's hard to put into words. He does this. The description has him shuffling his feet in what is called a grotesque dance step. And I cannot for the life of me picture what that dance step might look like that would be a grotesque dance step. But it is unsettling. Without being able to picture it, I can still understand that it is unsettling.
You've made me think of something here. So this whole family unit that's arrived, Selyse and Shireen with her grayscale and Patchface, it's kind of like your family when they met your boss's boss. Yeah?
We've never told that story, but yes.
Have we never told that story?
No, we haven't. But
God,
I think we may have on a sustainer call, but yes, I know what you mean. Oh, yeah. That's good call. Good call. Which one of them is Patchface? That's what I want to know. I guess it would have been Stacy because she had her hand over her mouth the whole time.
Broad strokes. I'm not identifying a 1-to-1 correlation.
That was good. But about Patchface, he often goes on with this gibberish about under the sea this and under the sea that. And I'm bringing this up. He was thought to have drowned when Stefan and Cassana Baratheon's ship sank, and then 3 days later he washed up. He's never been the same again mentally or physically. But I'm bringing him up, aside from how unsettling he is generally. I was reading this week that, well, some in the fandom think that he is a prophet of the drowned god. That's a pretty widely thought possibility. Right. And I was reading this week a theory that could he be the bridge that unites Stannis and the Ironborn? Because Aaron Damphair disappeared after the Kingsmoot. What if he were to reappear and unite with Stannis if he believes that Patchface is a true prophet? Now, I'm not sure if his under the sea, this and that is enough to get Aaron to be like, this guy's legit. He knows what he's talking about. I've been under the sea. And he is as spot on with those
shells and sand. He's got it all. He knows. But the thing that's a little bit that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about this until this very moment in time. But would it form a bridge though? Because might you say, you've been treating our prophet like some fool for the entertainment of your child.
That's true. You know what you have here. You have a true prophet of the drowned god, and he's wearing bells on his head.
This could be the opposite of the bridge. This could be the chasm between Stannis and him.
I had not thought about it that way. That is another way that it could go, yes.
So Patrick is one of the knights in Selyse's contingent, and he comments when they're talking about Wun being the side of the wall and Tormund Giantsbane coming through the wall and all the wildlings on this side of the wall. He asks if Jon's going to invite the others through the wall as well.
Offer them guest rights.
Right. Am I forgetting something? Would he necessarily believe in them, or...
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. I think it has to do with Melisandre and R'hllor, speaking of fighting the great other,
Okay.
And if the final battle is here at the wall, that it's a logical conclusion that the others are the opponents here, the great other.
But no one in Stannis' contingent has seen anything supernatural yet, I don't think.
No.
Is that right?
No,
Right.
nothing. No others or anything yet like that.
Right.
But
So yeah, and that was, what you said is what I assumed, that Melisandre's teachings have convinced them that there is something coming, and so
right.
Yeah.
And since she calls this dark force that R'hllor must defeat the great other, there's only one others that are known, and that's the others. So it's kind of fits, I guess, especially since they're here at the wall. But speaking of Sir Pat of King's Mountain, we only met him briefly here, but he kind of felt like he was cut from the mold of Sir Godry Faring, the giant slayer, kind of a disrespectful, idiotic blowhard who mocks Jon about keeping a giant as a pet, and then brings up, like you mentioned, the line about, are you going to invite the others for guest right as well? But I saw today that this character, Sir Patrick of King's Mountain, is named after one of George Martin's friends, Patrick St. Denis of Montreal. And as I understand it, Montreal can be translated loosely into King's Mountain. So that's how he became Sir Patrick. Yeah, so I don't know, this what little bit we've gotten of Sir Patrick. I'm not sure if I was his friend, Patrick St. Denis, that I would be like super thrilled with that. Couldn't you have named me, had the character be a little bit cooler?
I think as a friend of George Martin, you've got to accept the fact your character, something bad is going to happen to your namesake,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but at least they don't have to be a jerk.
That's true. That is true. So Selyse is planning to push on to the Night Fort as soon as possible. We suspect that won't go well. She's unhappy at Eastwatch, which Jon already thinks is more comfortable than Castle Black.
Right.
She's going to be unhappy at Castle Black.
Or than the Night's Fort. Eastwatch more comfortable than the Night's Fort.
Oh, he thought it was more comfortable than Castle Black as well, just because Castle Black was in a bit of state of disrepair from the battle.
Oh, well, maybe. Yeah, I think he specifically was saying...
the Night Fort, right?
What he said was that she might be more comfortable back at Eastwatch than at the Night Fort, which is still in a significant amount of disrepair.
Yeah, but that's what I read into that. You're going to be less comfortable here than you would have been,
Or maybe he's trying to put it in her head, like, you don't want to be here. Just
right,
your
exactly.
options
Head
are
back.
Night Fort or Eastwatch.
Yeah,
Those are the
true.
only two options. But is there any chance that she gets to the Night Fort, sees that it's not suitable yet, comes back and doesn't blame Jon for this whole situation, despite him telling her, you don't want to go there yet?
Yeah, I thought there was a chance she might Stannis it out at the Night Fort, even if it's miserable. But that's not the question you were asking. Will she blame Jon? Oh, yes, that's a guarantee that Jon will get the blame for this. No question.
Yeah, but at least there at the Night Fort, she will be the queen of her castle, which was not the situation at Eastwatch and not the situation at Castle Black. So
very true. Reasonable point.
Maybe she will. But just what Jon needs, end up being stuck with Selyse and her retinue, with already dealing with a sometimes drunken giant who has discovered wine and is a big fan of it. He's got women in Harden's Tower, which is a very rare situation. Wildlings mixing it up with Night's Watch brothers. His council constantly second-guessing every decision that he makes. And now add this fussy queen and her arrogant, ignorant knights, and one sweet little girl and a creepy fool. And we've got a real world. We've got, like... we need to get the cameras in there quick. Reality TV at its finest. Desperate Lord Commanders, we'll call it.
That is very true. Yes, you list the cast of characters he's having to deal with. It is quite something.
But one thing about her leaving Eastwatch, she mentions to Jon not just that she didn't like Cotter Pike and they were done with Eastwatch. it wasn't just those kind of issues. She said it's not safe for Shireen, that the attack will come from there. And I'm wondering if that's a reference to Melisandre's vision of the towers by the sea being submerged beneath the black, bloody tide, which she told Jon was Eastwatch, but we were in her POV when she saw that vision. She was only guessing. When Jon said Eastwatch, she was like, yeah, that's the ticket. So did Melisandre then send word to Selyse that Eastwatch is unsafe?
And if she did, that's why? Does she care about Selyse?
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, if Jon's saying Eastwatch and she's like, yeah, sure, Eastwatch. Oh, wait, my queen is there. I should probably call her and tell her to come over here. It's showing a concern for Selyse and Shireen that perhaps is a little bit surprising.
True.
I'm not sure where that would come from. Maybe keeping Stannis on her side. Hey, look, Eastwatch got destroyed and your wife and child were here because of me.
Maybe, yes, that makes sense. Maybe protecting Stannis' heir as well.
Yeah. Who, of course, is by a princess at this point. So I often worry about her gathering anyone with royal blood close to her, Melisandre.
Yes, agreed. I think that was what Jon was initially concerned about, too, when he thought that Alys was going to be Arya. And he was thinking, I got to keep Stannis from marrying her off and Melisandre from doing whatever it is Melisandre might do, which we know is possibly burn her alive.
I love the Iron Bank part of the book. I mean, I love how it's not a particularly complicated thing. It's, Robert, unsurprisingly, ran up huge debts, and the Lannisters, because they don't pay their debts, are refusing to pay their debts. And that their supremacy, which is almost complete at this point, is entirely undermined by that one decision.
Right. Jon can't believe that the Lannisters would be so foolish.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we were there when she made the decision, when she told the small council, and everybody except for Grand Maester Pycelle was on board. Grand Maester Pycelle said, well, that's a terrible idea. They decided to defer until after the war, and that money that they're saving was going to pay for the new royal fleet, the same royal fleet that sailed away when Cersei was imprisoned. So, whoops, all around, that didn't work out.
Yeah. So the biggest, I mean, we all get what the implication is here. If Stannis will honour the debts, the Iron Bank will ally themselves with Stannis over the Lannisters, and the Iron Bank has the coffers to fund a successful war, which otherwise Stannis does not seem to have many other chances of winning a successful war here.
No, he really doesn't. He's out of gold. He lost his fleet. He's losing men left and right now in this blizzard that he's stuck in. So a cash influx would be, especially at the level that the Iron Bank can offer, that would be a game changer, really.
I do wonder about the Iron Bank, though, because they must be like, God, are we throwing good money after bad here? We keep loaning to kings. They keep dying, and the next king refuses to pay, and then we have to pay off someone else to usurp the throne from that king in the hope they'll pay all these debts.
That's Jon kind of puts it that way when he is thinking about how the Iron Bank differs from the other banks in the free cities, and those other banks, when a prince or a lord or someone defaults on payment, it's the bankers that usually open their own veins because they're finished. But with the Iron Bank, if a prince or a lord defaults, they fund someone else to unseat them, become the new prince or lord, and then pay back those debts. So that's basically what's being spelled out here.
I don't know if the debts have been enumerated, but they're huge, is our understanding. I mean, the TV show had it in the millions of gold dragons, as I remember.
Yes, I think that's accurate here too.
Enormous sums of money, presumably. I mean, like when people are when people see a gold dragon, they go berserk over it, and we're talking millions of those. We're talking billions of dollars.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
And presumably it's going to take hundreds of thousands more gold dragons to bring Stannis up to a level where he can compete for this throne. So the debt is going to be absolutely, ginormous by the time he wins the Iron Throne. And where's he going to get that from?
Especially in winter, when he can't even really collect much in the way of taxes and such.
If I were him, I'd say, look, I've got to default on this loan until the spring. But in the spring, I'll start paying off this loan. But you've got to give me the grace of this winter to cement my position.
I do worry, now that Cersei has been imprisoned and Kevin is the new king regent, will he see the folly and say exactly what you just proposed there?
Interesting, yeah.
I will make these payments. I'm going to make what payments I can now, and come spring I will increase, now that he's in charge.
But anyway, you're right. It's just a game-changing moment, potentially, if like you said, Stannis can survive the predicament he's got himself into.
Yeah, it's not a great spot to receive this news when he is stranded in a village in the middle of nowhere in the north. It would have been a better situation if he was in Castle Black or even Deepwood Motte. He would be in a better position to act.
Especially for Tycho Nestoris. He's not going to be happy.
No, I got to go where? Middle of nowhere? In the Wolfswood?
You just go that way. Once you've gone through 3 weeks of snowdrifts, look for one that's mounded slightly higher than the rest. They're under there. That's where you'll find it.
Uh-huh. But there's other loans being worked out too, though, here.
Right, yeah. So Jon's loan to keep the Night's Watch afloat makes a perfect sense. Although the Night's Watch, sort of uniquely, shouldn't really have come to this winter without their stores. Well, okay, I've realized why they have. They were prepared for winter more than anybody else in the Seven Kingdoms.
Probably,
because they have not been involved in the wars. But they have now fed refugees for months.
And the king's force and...
right. Yes. Refugees and unwanted visitors, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder, though, will this make Bowen Marsh happier? Maybe less critical? If maybe we're not going to have the food shortage that he was so desperately fearful of? Will he be happy, or will he be more upset because all he does is criticize Jon? You put us how much into debt?
What am I supposed to do with these? Suck the gold coins? That's not going to feed me.
Well, there is an issue of the whole realm is suffering food shortage, possibly aside from the Reach and the Stormlands.
I'd be buying this from Essos, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Although crossing the Narrow Sea isn't as easy as it
Not the greatest time of year to be doing that. That's true. Can we borrow those ships again?
Right. Can we just keep borrowing them for now? And speaking of those ships, so last Tyrion chapter, we discussed the difference between a galley and a cog. And in this chapter, Jon says to Tycho, I hear you came with 3 ships, a galley, a cog, and a galleass. And so I thought, what is this galleass? Now I need to go looking. Well, a galleass is basically a larger, sturdier galley that combines oars and sails.
Oh, right.
So,
interesting.
3 different types of ships were brought across.
Good to know. So all of this loan leads him to sort of start to cement in his mind his plan to save the free folk in Hardhome. He's got to enact it sooner rather than later because he doesn't know how much peril they're in, but he's pretty sure, given what he knows is going on north of the wall and Melisandre's visions, that he needs to get those people out of there as quickly as possible before they switch sides involuntarily.
Yes, right. He got this news from the folks, from the wildling that he let through the wall. Those wildlings were reporting that this Mother Mole had led thousands off to Hardhome. So, so he's got it on pretty good authority that this is is happening.
And he before the end of the chapter, he sends word to trigger this. Let's go now with the 11 that we've got and save the women and children first. Maybe this is pedantry, but honestly, I think I'd rather face the dead children. You know?
That's true. If his ultimate, as heartless as that is if his ultimate goal is to lessen the impact, then yeah.
Save the biggest and strongest first.
Yeah, that's a terrible thought, but you're being strategic.
Someone's got to make the hard decisions here.
Right. But he's really, much like Dany was doubling down on saving Meereen and Slaver's Bay and going back to Westeros with Quentyn Martell, Jon is committed to saving the wildlings, which is a wildly unpopular idea with his council, even though he's explained that every human left to die north of the wall rises in the others and swells the others' ranks. So, but he is risking his own men and his own ships to try and save them. So that's going to be even more unpopular, I'm pretty sure. But speaking of ships, Tycho says that there are strange ships having been seen in the Stepstones. And he doesn't know, they're strange. He doesn't know who they are. So Jon suggests, is it Salador San? And Tycho says, we have heard that he's back in the Stepstones, but we know him. These are unknown. Yeah. And so who are our options? So I put together a couple thoughts. The Iron Fleet. We know Victarion is sailing for Slaver's Bay and Dany. But again, the Iron Fleet's pretty well known. You see the Kraken sigil. You're not guessing who that is.
Yeah, but less so on this side of the continent, right?
Maybe, yeah. But then Tycho says, I think possibly from further east, and there are talk of dragons. So then that makes you think, could it be the Volantene fleet with Jon Connington and Aegon? Aegon being the dragon that's being referenced.
Right.
And that makes sense, except for the fact that you would think that the Volantene fleet would surely be known by fellow free city, people from the other free cities. So if that's not the case, then there's only one third option that I can think of, and that is at the end of Feast for Crows. I just mentioned this a little bit ago. Aurane Waters sailed away on the new royal fleet, and Grand Maester Pycelle thought that he was planning on setting himself up as a pirate in the Stepstones. So could that be the
because these would be unknown ships, and he might be flying unknown sigils. Because
exactly.
How interesting! It's funny because when you said it, I was like, well, first of all, it's Salador, and then I was like, oh no, wait, he literally ruled out Salador. I was like, okay, well, it's the Iron Fleet. Like, come on, Mackelly, stop dragging this out. But actually, you kept going, and you kept making more and more compelling cases for alternatives. So bravo! I stand corrected. Axel Florent, the Queen's Hand, self-styled, is basically what we thought he was, a boar and an oaf. Yes. Do you think he was pushing on the fact that he'd heard rumour that Val wasn't there, or do you think he was just trying to get eyes on her because he wanted to?
I think my suspicion is that he knew Val, he heard that Val wasn't there, that
was missing,
that Jon had released one of the king's important prizes that he made Jon swear he would keep her close at hand. He was trying to get it out of him one way or the other.
Yeah, that was my take as well. I mean, I think it was overlaid with lechery, but I think it was he's heard rumor and he wants to embarrass Jon as much as possible.
Yeah, and Jon thinks that Axel is the closest thing to a kinslayer, if not a kinslayer, because he allowed his brother to be burned alive and did nothing to stop it. And that was his brother Alistair. Lord of Brightwater Keep and Hand of the King at one point. He was imprisoned for trying to broker peace between Stannis and the Lannisters, offering Stannis giving up his claim to the Iron Throne to be named Lord of Storm's End and Dragonstone, and brokering a betrothal between Tommen and Shireen. and then sacrificed by Melisandre for favorable winds from Dragonstone to Eastwatch.
Yeah.
So
we remember him.
yeah.
It was rash for sure, but I think I would have had a quick conversion to R'hllor before facing the punishment that was coming my way. I'll step down as Hand of the King and just follow R'hllor for the rest of my life. Please don't.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a cellmate of Davos for a while on Dragonstone.
That's right. That's where we met him, isn't it? In the cells with Davos. I remembered that much. Yeah.
Yes.
So Alys Karstark arrives. Thanks to the spoiler section, I knew this wasn't going to be Arya. I knew it was going to be Alys Karstark. So
thank goodness we no longer have to pretend that this girl on the dying horse could be Jane Poole, because it was we're having to do it so often because we couldn't mention Alys Karstark because she'd never really been a character. She'd been referenced.
Right, yeah. She's an out of the blue answer to that question.
Yeah. Yes, so we couldn't even pose it as a possibility. So thankfully we can lay that to rest.
And the horse isn't dying of the bloody flux or anything like that. I'm mixing up two threads here, right? Okay, just
two prophecies of dying horses. Yes.
And Jon's heartbroken to a certain extent that it's not Arya that's come to his door, but he was worried. He was worried about Arya's arrival, but he wanted to see her too.
Yes, mixed.
But I will say,
emotions.
I think Alys is a really good character. I mean, she's arrived half starved, half frozen. She's kind of like huddled in furs by the fire while Jon is talking to her, but she's very much of the north. She has that northernness to her, which we all like,
Yes. A little bit of Arya in her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And her intel is really good. I mean, she it comes as a sort of like a, the final shoe to drop thing that she knows that the Karstarks are about to perform a treachery on Stannis. But she only mentions that because Jon says, well, I could write to Stannis and on your behalf and sort of like sort of intercede for you, and she's like, yeah, don't waste your ink, my friend. That guy's for it.
Yes, that is a big news to reach the ears. Now we heard some of this from Roose Bolton telling Theon, but now the other side is getting this news, which is important difference here.
Tycho will have like the longest parchment ever to read out to Stannis when he gets there. He's like, where do I start?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is there's no easy way to get word to Stannis of this betrayal in time. If only someone at Castle Black was leaving on an expedition to find Stannis. Oh, wait. We have someone who is
that's true.
Actively hunting Stannis.
Yeah.
But, Jon does think about the fact that Alys showed up alone. No Mance, no 6 spearwives.
Right.
And he's like, what happened to Mance? Did Melisandre secretly send him on some other mission? Now,
well, of course, he thought that before he found out it wasn't Arya. As far as he knows, Mance could still be saving Arya at Winterfell.
That is true. Jon doesn't know that there could have been a different girl on a dying horse or something like that.
But yes, exactly. The problem for Jon now is that he now thinks, oh, Melisandre misread her tea leaves. This was what he saw. He no longer has any reason to think. No, but he does have a reason to think Arya is at Winterfell because he got a letter to say Arya's at Winterfell.
He got a letter from Stannis.
Inviting him to the wedding.
Oh, yes, he did. Wait.
Yeah.
That's right?
Yeah. He got an invite to the wedding. We talked about it being
he did.
Cruel and unusual.
It was supposed to be at Barrowtown at the time.
Right. So in actual fact, that might actually help things in his mind because it's like, okay, the reason she saw the rider coming on her own is because it was Alys Karstark, not Arya. Mance's mission is to save Arya. So it actually falls into place a little bit. He might be a little bit reassured by that. Whereas while he thought Mance was trying to rescue her and she arrived on her own, what the hell happened,
Yes. Or if Mance showed up with this girl, then Jon would be like, oh, I thought you were going to rescue Arya.
Yeah. Well, he might have that same disappointment should Mance arrive with Jane Poole in tow.
Yeah, that's true. But unless it's a red herring, the singer in Winterfell with the 6 women is seeming more and more like Mance.
Yeah.
We don't know this for sure, but the fact that Mance didn't show up with Alys Karstark means he's still out there, which means he very well could be that singer at Winterfell.
Yeah, true enough. But what next for Alys? She can only get the protection at Castle Black for so long. Does she have any royal blood? No, she's probably safe from that at least.
Well, she is a descendant of the Starks, ultimately, and they once had royal blood. So yeah, I'm sure if Melisandre squints enough, she can see royal blood.
I thought she was Arya, to be honest. but where could she possibly be safe? Really, I mean, maybe she can live in Harden's Tower or go to the Night Fort and serve Selyse, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is in a unique situation, there are currently plenty of women at Castle Black, which is very rare. Right. Could she possibly hide in the ranks of wildling women and change her name or whatever she needs to do to be not Alys Karstark?
Well, I'd like to say that within the Night's Watch, she shouldn't need to change her name. Everyone should be safe. There should be no one wanting to throw her back to the Karstarks just because she's a Karstark. That's a runaway,
Yeah, unless there are some Karstark loyalists at the Wall that would let it slip or something.
Yeah, true enough. All right, excellent. It's time for some spoilers. If you join us at the upper tiers of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer levels, you can get the spoilers, and if you're interested, you can try it out for free for a week. Excellent. Super spoilers. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
What about some background for us?
Well, let's talk about Tycho's employer, the Iron Bank. Not about their generous retirement package or their hazard pay and solid per diem, which I'm sure Tycho is taking full advantage of.
I will say, Tycho is a stoic. I mean, yes. If I was Tycho, I'd already be complaining about how cold and miserable my trip is. I wouldn't be looking forward to schlepping down to Stannis.
Agreed. He is quite the... he should get his name on a plaque, Employee of the Month, at the
right, for sure,
on the walls somewhere in Bravos. Anyway, let's look at the bank's history. So Archmaester Mathar wrote about it in a book titled The Origins of the Iron Bank and Bravos.
It sounds like the right place to read about it, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. It really feels like a good place to get that info. The bank's history goes back about as far as that of the city in which it resides. The founders of the bank consisted of 16 men and 7 women who hid valuables in an abandoned iron mine right around the time of the city's founding. As the valuables began to stack up, the men and women decided to form a bank so as to utilize their accumulating wealth. Each of the 23 founders had a key to their now treasure-filled mine, and to this day, their descendants still possess those keys. They are known as key holders, and these key holders often display ceremonial keys during formal events to signify their status. Even those descendants who have lost their wealth maintain their key and the honors and status that come with it. Beyond the key holders, other wealthy, powerful Bravasi sit on the Iron Bank's council and vote on its bank's leaders.
For a second there, I misinterpreted what you were saying, and I thought they needed all 23 of them to come with their keys to open the door to the thing. I was like, wait a minute, that's untenable.
That really is.
All right. The comparison with the television show. The entire Karstark story disappears. There's no Alys. Selyse has been at Castle Black the whole time with Shireen. They've been there since the arrival of Stannis. So
right.
There's no separate arrival for them. And in fact, the two of them, Shireen and Selyse, accompany Stannis on his march south from the Wall.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I did read an interesting thing about Selyse's character. She was a little bit more fleshed out in the TV show. And as I thought about it, I was like, a lot of my impressions of Selyse are based on the TV show.
Sure. Yeah.
That's because, like we said today, she barely shows up in the book at all. She's very much a background character. The creators said they wanted to give her a little bit more of a backstory than she gets in the novels, because obviously in the novels she's not a POV character. Stannis isn't a POV character, so we just don't see her much. In the TV show, they gave her 2 stillborn sons that she kept in sort of pickling jars and obsessed over.
Gosh, that's something.
Shireen, by contrast, was lifted directly from the book. She wasn't given any extra story. It was just what the book Shireen was kept in the TV show, if you see what I mean. But Show Selyse was given some animosity towards Shireen as a sort of living reminder of her failure to give Stannis a son.
Okay, yeah, that's
you
different.
don't see that in the book.
No, you don't. Yeah. She seems quite protective of her daughter here in this
Exactly, scene. Yeah. There's a fondness, which I mean, I don't agree or disagree. I just thought it was an interesting contrast,
Yeah, for sure.
Pedantry Corner.
Well, I just have one thing here. So, twice in this chapter, and a lot of times, including the last Jon chapter, when Jon was meeting with his griping council, his raven, Mormont's raven, is in his solar just about every time Jon's in there. But there's never any mention of a whole ton of bird crap all over this solar. And I just don't know if that bird is potty trained in some way or what, but it seems like there would be a significant amount of bird droppings all through that room.
Do you think he has flight privileges? Do you think he can get out?
Yeah, I would think so. He did fly.
Maybe he is trained to poop when he flies. Go fly and
maybe.
Poop. Don't do it in here.
I didn't think birds had that kind of control, but
the
I
bird
don't
can
know.
Talk.
Well, true.
You could reason with the thing. Look, you keep pooping in here. It smells. It's nasty. Go poop while you fly. Snow, corn.
Poo.
That's a reasonable point. I wonder if Jon does something way more disgusting in the solo that just hides the.
Maybe he needs that in there.
I mean, I know the Lord Commander pees in the corner, but I want you to stop pooping in here, bird. All right, we don't have anything in news and notes.
No, weirdly, I think it's because it was such a fast turnaround that there was not a lot of time.
We have had a fast turnaround. All right, we'll have a double helping next time, I'm sure.
Yes, hopefully.
So let's conclude this one. Queen Selyse has arrived, only according to her, for a brief time. We'll see about that.
Yeah, Jon's headaches continue to grow.
Yeah, I would not talk her out of going to the night fort. I'd be like, yeah, sure, just go.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
You're going to really enjoy it. You will be the queen of your castle.
And just like Stannis, right, you stick to your guns when you make a decision, right? You don't backtrack. You don't change your mind. Okay, good. On you go.
Yeah, because otherwise, I fear she's going to be much worse than having the king around. All the entitlement with none of the strategic sense that Stannis at least has. But hopefully Melisandre can keep Selyse maybe in some check here.
Yeah.
Because, that's who the true queen is.
Exactly. And as you've said, Melisandre is clearly trying to keep Jon on her side to a certain extent, or at least impress her. So
yes. So that's true.
And King Stannis has the lifeline. Tycho Nestoris and the Iron Bank are going to come to him if he can just stay alive with news that could really change the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hope it's not too late. And he's in a rough spot. Even if he is alive, he's in a rough spot. But this really could. And it's so Cersei to just think she can do whatever she wants and everyone will just do what she wants them to do in response to what she wants. It's probably never crossed her mind, oh, wait, if I stop paying the Iron Bank, maybe they're going to go to my enemies and say, hey, we'll help you out if you are willing to pay back their debts. Yeah. Never crossed her mind.
Of course, Stannis' short-term, as you said, his short-term prospects are not so great, but he has a lifeline there too now, because now his allies at Castle Black know a fact that they didn't previously know, which is that the Karstarks are not Team Stannis at all.
Yes, and hopefully that information will get to Stannis in time, and he will believe the information. That's another key. If it's coming from a girl who's running away from home and she's 16, and will that be enough? She's 15 technically, but will that be enough to convince him
I straight out believe her, partly because I already know it's true, but also the fact that she's running away from home with this news feels, impactful to me. But maybe Stannis has a colder eye than I do.
It should at least be enough to cause Stannis to treat the Karstarks with caution. Don't let them bring up the rear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's not just Stannis that the Iron Bank has thrown a lifeline to.
Right.
They've thrown a lifeline
lifelines everywhere here.
Yeah, to the Night's Watch as well here. But I do worry about whether they'll have the ability to buy the food, unless, like you said, they go to Essos, because there's going to be a shortage here.
I also wonder, I try and think of a 16-year-old negotiating with a banker. It's hard to imagine that Jon did a really good job of the terms there.
That is true. Yeah.
But I guess Tycho probably knew he had the upper hand, and it was like, maybe he didn't bother to extort too much out of him, because what's the point? The kid doesn't understand.
I hope so. Depends. Yeah. He seems pretty dedicated to his company, so if he could get the best terms. I'm just not sure. You're right. I'm not sure Jon would know what kind of terms to negotiate as a mid-teen boy.
I also wonder, if you're carrying like 2 huge crates of gold dragons, how big your snowshoes have to be to keep you up.
Right. It was a very good question.
But, so sadly the girl wasn't Arya, but Alys is an interesting addition to the book, and she's a young girl, distant relative in need of help. I think Jon's going to look after her.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how best Jon can help her, but I can't see him letting her uncle Cregan just come and take her back to Carhold.
No, that one I think you can rule out safely.
Yeah. But I do kind of like the idea of letting her blend in with the wildlings and just, just hide in plain sight even. Yeah.
Well, next week we have a chapter called The Blind Girl.
Oh, who could this be?
I think that might be the real Arya.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, last time we saw her, she was blind. So
that's what I'm thinking. There's 3 ways that you can help us. You can leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review. You can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold, or become a sustainer at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhal. There's a tier to match your budget and your interest, and you can try any of the tiers for free for 7 days. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
Do you think Mance is going to show up in that Blind Girl chapter if it is the real Arya? He's moved on to Bravos.
I tell you what, he's good at his job. He's a heck of a bloodhound if he's dragged her all the way to Bravos.
I guess we'll find out. Anyway, if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, one thing you can do is you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Please just keep in mind we have no means of responding, but we do enjoy reading your texts. And if you're interested in keeping up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghosts Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.